Hey, this is Brock Hayes, running back coach at Troy University. This is the FanView podcast. Make sure you're checking in.
What's up, everybody? You already know what it is. Another episode of the FanView podcast. Listen, I'm that boy Fred.
G Sports back at it.
Coach Hurricane Hand back at it again.
Man, y'all already know what it is, man. We can't stop. We won't stop. Listen, we got another guest in the building. G, why don't you introduce this problem?
Man, I gotta introduce my dog, man. Troy State running back coach Brock Hayes, man. Real personal friend of mine. Just been glad to see you elevating in the college game, man, and fulfilling your dream. Appreciate you coming on the FanView podcast, man. We like to start it off, though, man. We like to start off the podcast, man, talking about your journey.
Yes.
Talking about how you got into the college ranks and how you just been elevating ever since you started at Louisiana College.
Man, I tell you what, I thank y'all for inviting me on here
Appreciate
to be on the show because I know this is a big deal because of the platform that you guys are providing for the student athletes and,
Right.
and people that deal with sports and there's just a following you have. Like, this is a big deal for me. I don't take this lightly, so I'm really appreciative to even be on here.
We appreciate it.
To be able to speak about things.
No doubt.
Man, I've been knowing G for a little minute.
Yep.
When I was coaching high school ball. So really, starting this year, I'm going into my 18th year of coaching. So a lot of people, like, when I say I'm tired, they're like, how? You're young. And I'm like, yeah, I'm young, but I started coaching early. So basically, I'm close to 20 years, like when people retire. So
Correct.
when I say I'm tired, I'm a little tired.
You approaching the LeBron years and the Chris Paul years in the NBA.
Right.
Don't forget Kobe.
Trust me, my favorite athlete of all time.
There you
Trust
go. All right, well, I'm good then. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I guess I could finish the show.
me. Yes. Absolutely. Mamba mentality lives.
Nah, man, I was man, it's been a blessing, man, the way my career is gone. It's real surreal when you sit back and you look back over it because of how I started and everything that transpired throughout the process helped me get to where I'm at now.
Right.
So, I coached 9 years in high school. When I was in college, I had an opportunity to start coaching. So I started coaching actually in the city. I was at Helen Cox. I was at Helen Cox. It was my first spot.
Were you there when Greg Monroe was there?
No, I wasn't there with Greg. This was actually 2004, right before Katrina.
This is before Greg.
Yeah, before Greg. So actually, Eddie Lacy was there as an 8th grader.
Oh, okay. Before the storm.
Before the
Before the
storm.
storm. Helen Cox just became a high school. Used to be middle school.
They were moving up. They were moving
Gotcha.
up from the middle
Gotcha.
school. So at the time, the head coach, Coach Brooks, used to be our defensive coordinator.
Willie Brooks.
Yep, Willie Brooks was our defensive coordinator at Edna Carr. That's where I graduated from. And not only that, I've been knowing Coach Brooks since I was a kid because when I went to Adolph Meyer, which changed into Harriet Tubman, he used to be the PE teacher there. So like that relationship had always been there. So when that opportunity presented itself, I called him. I was like, "Look, Coach, I want to coach. I want to see, what this about." And he was like, "Come on, Brock. I give you an opportunity." That was all I could ask for. So it's crazy when I get there. I'm like, man, I'm about to be this coach. I'm about to do this and that, and I'm ready to go.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I'm there, and I'm just like, man, what's really going on? Like I got to go pick up food. I'm filming practice. I ain't really like coaching, so I'm like,
Right.
am I a coach or am I not?
You're a runner.
I was a runner. And when he see this, he gonna bust out laughing. And I don't think I ever told him like the way I felt. I was like, man,
Might be a track star.
like I trust you. Like, why am I not like?
Right.
I'm thinking I'm getting a room.
Right.
And it never happened. It was just like from there. And when you look back on it, man, it's crazy because all he was doing was he was breaking me in the right way, not handing me something, handing me the keys to it. He was like, you got to learn how to earn it, learn every aspect of it. So I was learning, dropping kids off, doing stuff like that. And, it started my beginning real humble as a coach.
Right.
So I did that for a year. Katrina happens. We end up moving to New Iberia after the storm. Don't know anyone there. It took us 12 hours to get there, which is a 2-hour ride from New Orleans. Took us 12 hours to get there. And we stopped at New Iberia at a church and we ended up staying there for a while. And I started to coach down there. And it was at New Iberia Senior High with Coach Hudson. And it's that was like my first time getting a position.
Mm.
So he was like, man, after I talked to him, he was like, I wouldn't mind bringing you on, letting you learn how to coach and do everything else. So he like put me with the middle school. So then again, I was like, man, all right, I
Right.
go to middle school, but I ain't
Right.
at high school, man. I'm like, all right, when I'm gonna get there?
Right.
Because in the beginning, I wanted everything to be fast track, not understanding it's a process to everything.
You were trying
right?
to skip steps.
Yeah, I was trying to skip steps.
You want to be instant grits. I got you.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
The microwave action.
Yeah, pour a little water, and I didn't want to be the one on the pot. You know, that take a little minute.
Right.
So I wanted, like you said, instant grits. So I go there. I work with the middle school. Was a varsity coach, but I was an assistant to a coach there.
Yep.
So I did that for like a year and a half.
You was coaching D-line?
I was coaching D-line at the time. So I was there for a year and a half. Got the coach. That's when I really like started to understand like you have to like develop a style of who you are as a coach. Because you think like you can just go out there and do it, not understanding it's more than just telling people what to do. It's how can you relay information to them? How can you get these guys to understand how to do certain things?
Right.
So I was there, and then I went back to finish up at Grambling, and I coached at the school on campus, Grambling Lab. I was there with Coach Sherrod, Cedric Sherrod, who was there. I was there I came in half of the year with him, and then the next year I did a full year because I was graduating.
Right.
And that's where I really like started to get it. Like I'm a D-line coach.
Figuring it out.
I'm figuring it out now. You know, because as you gain experience through it, you start to learn things.
Learn things.
Because you know it just don't happen overnight. You have to like literally be in the fire and doing that. So man, we did a great job there. Made it to the third round of the playoffs. The school hadn't been winning before we got there, so we made some noise from there. And I'm starting to develop my niche. People talking about me a little bit.
Right.
And then when I finished, I ended up coming back home to coach at Carr, where I graduated from. So at the time when I was at Carr, Coach Watney was the head coach there. In my senior year, Coach Watney retired, and Coach Jaluk took over the job. So
that was y'all went to state, right?
No, we ain't go to state that year. Went to state in 2000.
Okay.
No, 99, 2000. Around that time we went to state. We didn't go when I was there. We didn't go to state when I was there.
No, it's coach.
Oh yes. So when I got the call in 2010, that was my first year coming in the call. Obviously, people I played with knew were already coaching there. So Coach Luke was like, "Yeah, man, opportunity to come coach the D-line." And by this time, I feel like if I hadn't gone through those years of coaching at those three schools previously to that, I wouldn't have been ready to step into that moment at Carr, because it was it's an established program. It is what it is. But at that point is when we were able to take it to new heights. So
the Speedy Noel era.
Yeah, Speedy Noel was there. So actually, Speedy Noel and my little brother are in the same class.
Yep.
So all of them came in
Poppy.
as freshmen. Yep. They came in as freshmen that year in 2010. So I come in to coach, working with the staff, and I was there for 3 years. And obviously, we went to the championship 3 years in a row. We lost the first two. We won the third one. And it was just, I've been fortunate enough to blessed to coach some really good talent that made me probably look better than what I was. These guys, because everywhere I had been up to that point, even at Carr, the guys were like all district, all state, guys getting scholarships. So my name was starting to pick up, right? And when I was at Carr, I was going into the third year I was there, and I remember I was like, man, I'm ready to be a defensive coordinator, because I was under Coach Torres Howard at the time, and I was like, man, I think I'm ready to do this. So I'll never forget it. I go into Coach Luke's office. We're about to start the playoffs. I said, listen, Coach, I just want to come talk to you now. He was like, what's up? I said, at the end of the season, I want to leave to go pursue being a coordinator. And he was just sitting at the desk, and he was like, okay. He said, well, this is what we're going to do. Let's finish the playoffs, and then after the season, we'll go from there. So I'm like, cool. Having my back, got it from there. So I leave after the third year. Jaluk actually ends up getting a job at Louisiana Tech. He ends up going to college.
Right after y'all won state.
Right after we won state, and I got a chance to kind of decide where I wanted to go, because my name was kind of hot, and so people respected what I did. I would say.
Right. And people love champions. And
they love champions. So it added value to what I could bring. So I get an opportunity to kind of decide where I want to go, and I decided to go to Miller McCoy Academy, which doesn't exist no more. But at the time, that's where Jeremiah Scott was as the head coach, and he brought me on. So I was there for a year.
And Coach Nick Foster, huh?
Yeah. So I was actually I Nick was just finishing school at UAB, and he was like, "Man, I want to coach." And I said, "Listen, I'll talk to the head coach. We'll go from there." And he actually let Nick come on too. So that was Nick's starting spot in college. I mean, in high school was at Miller McCoy when I was there. So we ended up winning district. It was the first time for the school. We had a lot of success. Obviously, again, coaching guys that could play, get to college.
Yeah, Andre Anthony on that team.
Yep, Andre Anthony was on that team.
All-American.
He was a 10th grade at the time. Crazy story about him. I know that's kind of off subject, but he never thought he was that good.
Wow.
He was a little scrawny kid in the 10th grade, and I was like, man, listen, you have like tools to be really good.
Right.
And he just at the time, he's kind of hesitant, like, well, I think I could, I don't know. And I actually look at it like I'm happy I was there at that time because I was able to pour into him to get him to understand, like, you have an opportunity to be really good. And we had some good talent there, man.
Bird was there too.
Yeah, Bird was there. Corey Turner was there. Brian Webb was there. So all these guys signed scholarships from there to play collegiate football.
That's what's up.
And then when I left after a year, I came back to Carr when Nate Jones took over the job. So this was Coach Jones' second year, and I said, listen, we talked about it. He was like, yeah, come back, we'll do that. So I was just there for that year, and then I ended up going to college. So the way the college thing started, when we were at Carr, we would do fall camp at Nicholls State, and we would do it every year. And for some reason, the year I came back to Carr,
he wanted to switch it.
He switched it, or something happened, and we ended up doing it at Louisiana College, right?
Yep.
Was this what Justin Jones was the head coach?
No, he was a DC. Okay. Dennis Dunn was the head coach, who used to be the legendary coach at Evangel, who won all the state championships. So
with Brock Berlin,
we having fall camp there. I'm just doing what I do. I'm coaching. I'm having fun. Always wanted to get into college, right?
Right.
So we do fall camp there. We have our season. All that happens. Now, before I get into that next part that got me into college, when I was at Carr that last year, I started to think maybe I can have an opportunity to coach in college, because I seen guys and I'm like, I think that's something I would want to do. So I remember I used to be sitting in the classroom when I had downtime, and I would email every single coach, FBS, FCS, D2, D3. I was just sending stuff out.
You was just trying to get on.
That's all I was trying to. I was like, how else would these people know me outside of when they come to recruit the schools? I create relationships with them, but I was like, let me just send stuff out. Some guys will respond.
Coach Austin Clunch had when he did the show.
Yep.
He did a
The
similar
coach
thing.
At Nicholls, the head basketball coach.
Head basketball coach at Nicholls. He did the same thing back when he was trying to come up coaching.
Yeah. So I sent all these emails out, and some guys responded, some didn't. And it's real discouraging when you send this stuff out. Nobody really like biting. I'm like, man, what I got to do? What is it that I have to do? And I'm like, it'll just take its course, I guess. So I'm just coaching, and one day I get this letter. It's the greatest denial letter of my life. Right? It's the greatest denial letter of my life. And it was so crazy. I get this letter, and it has the University of Georgia on it. Mark Richt wrote me a letter back about, sorry, we don't have any positions. Keep pursuing it. And just some encouraging stuff. Signed it and everything. I still have that letter to this day.
Wow.
From Mark Richt.
That was like a moral victory for you?
Yeah, because I'm like, man, this is like Mark Richt. And see, at the time, I was a Georgia fan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like legitimately a Georgia fan. Like, I loved, because a Christian faith man, like, I was following his path, and I'm like, man, I would love to coach him one day. That's why I actually emailed him first, and then I started branching out to everybody else.
Right.
And he actually sent the letter back. And like, I still got that to this day.
That's crazy.
Let me ask you, before you continue, what made it you go this direction and not that direction? Because some people might have got that denial letter and say, you know what,
this is over.
Is it? I tried. I'm just gonna stay where's that? Maybe the grass ain't greener. What made you say, you know what? All right, this is gonna motivate me to keep going. I'm like, I'm getting the answer now.
Well, I would say when I think about stuff like that, I just think about my life. We all go through experiences that shape us the way we are.
Agreed.
Right? So, growing up, mom did the best, family did the best that we can do. Obviously we couldn't have everything we wanted, making stuff happen. And I always had the mindset of, if things weren't going right, it can always be worse. So I would always look at stuff, like I tell people all the time, when I look at a cup, I don't look at it half empty, I look at it half full. You know, so I would always look at things like that. Like I always felt like there's a silver lining in something because I hated the feeling of being disappointed or feeling let down. You know what I'm saying? So I carried that all the way up until now, even the way I do things. Like no matter how bad a situation is, I don't look at it like, oh, well, that's it. Because at the end of the day, time keeps moving. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't sit in that moment and just let it take you down.
Have a
you
pity
can't get
party
that
for
back.
yourself.
Right. Why feel sorry for yourself? It's like when I'm coaching and you see guys get down on themselves. I'm like, ain't nothing hurt but your pride. Like, get over it. Let's go. Keep moving.
Right.
Keep moving because you can still continue to progress no
Right.
matter what happens. And like when it came to the coaching thing, like when those letters were coming, yeah, I mean it's discouraging. It like a lot of people see where I'm at now, but they don't understand like the journey and the stress you go through and like things is not happening. The
Family
way you
dynamic.
want it. All that stuff, man, it's tough. I remember telling G when he was first starting because I was coaching at Nichols at the time, and we used to be talking, and I told him, I said, look, G, I know what you're trying to do. He was getting frustrated. I said, listen, at the end of the day, the vision that you have is your vision.
Yep.
Only you can see it through your eyes and through your mindset. I said, you can tell other people what that vision is, and they hear what it is, but they don't see what you see.
Right.
Just keep pushing at it. Keep getting after it because anything that's worth having gonna take time. You're gonna appreciate it more once it starts to develop.
Facts.
And look where we sit now.
Right.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Facts.
that was way back then. Us
Right.
talking about it and seeing
Right.
it come to fruition is such a blessing to see that. You know, so for me, I just always was like, just keep going. Keep going. Because I always said, if I'm going to bet on something, I'm going to bet on myself.
Yep.
Right.
And everybody can't do that. Now, it's hard to,
That's not easy.
to do something
That's easier
not
said than done.
knowing what's on the other side. Because people always want to know exactly what's going to happen if I do this.
Instant gratification.
But at the end of the day, you can't control that. God has already set your path. You just have to make the decisions.
Correct.
And then it leads to where it leads. Just trusting what he's trying to do for you, and it'll work out for you. That's just been my mindset with
Don't
things.
walk the path before. Don't try to walk the path that he's created. Like
Yes.
follow it. Don't walk it.
Yes.
Follow. It's different. And I think that's something that us as black men that we're programmed to. Hey, you gotta walk this way because you gotta go get. As religious as you could be, you hear God, but you're not listening to him.
Right.
So because you're like, man, it's hard. I mean, I see, man, my kid out there struggling. I gotta go get this, boom, boom, boom. I gotta go do it this type of way. And if you would just pause, like you said, navigate the path that
Right.
the light is shined on for you, you would have got there in a better situation than when you got there.
Exactly. Like I tell people when I'm talking to players, I'm like, listening. I said, listen, you either listen or you hearing. There's a difference.
Correct.
There's a big difference if you listening to me or if you just hearing me. If you just hearing me, then you're not paying attention. But if you're listening, you're paying attention. And when you get them to start to understand that, then they start to like, okay, let me just kind of listen to what he's saying now. I'm just not hearing it. I'm really listening to what he's saying, dissecting it, you know, trying to break down what I'm trying to tell you. And it's the same thing like you're saying, you know, so that's really how I attack things. You know, sometimes, I mean, I look at myself and I'm like, I might not think the norm, but the norm hasn't gotten me to where I'm at either,
Right.
you know.
You have to think outside the box a little bit.
I used to ask my mom, I'd be like, Mom, like, man, I just feel like I'm so different from everybody I'm growing up with. And she was like, you're not different. She's like, you. She said, you're unique. And I never forgot when she said that. So every time I'm doing stuff or going about things, I'm like, I'm unique. I'm just making the decisions because that's how it's supposed to be. Let God lead it.
Right.
It's going to always carry itself out and play out the way you want it in the end.
What I want to kind of get into, I talked to a lot of different college coaches, and when you ask them about their journey and the things they went through starting out, you know, like Dave, you know, I remember Dave telling me the story about him sleeping in his car.
Yep.
When he was at Millsaps College in Mississippi, and I was like, wow. And now you at Florida State. Well, at the time when he told me he was at Tennessee, like now you at Tennessee, man, you're doing your thing. And Jaluk told me some stories about when he was at Walker and when he coached that Brother Martin. I didn't even know he coached that Brother Martin, but every coach has told me so many different stories that it was some turning points in their life where it was like, God damn, you made it through that. Talk about your sacrifice, man. When you started off at Louisiana College, because you got a family, you married,
Right.
you know, you got your second kid, but at the time, you know, you was getting ready to start your family, and the patience that you have to have going through that process, and from a financial standpoint, uprooting your family, going to a different area where you're not familiar with, and leaving your immediate family, like your mom and people stuff like that in your hometown, how that brought you to where you at right now?
Man, it's crazy because like it all ties back in, like, and I got to tell that part about the high school because it's a reason for that. You know what I'm saying? So getting back, and it's gonna tie into it. So going back to when we were practicing at Louisiana College for fall camp, where we go through the season, and I get a call at the end of the year, right? So I was already doing my due diligence, reaching out to people. Nothing happened, staying positive, and at the end of the year, Coach Charles calls me because he's recruiting my little brother there, right?
Right.
So he's recruiting my little brother. I'm just helping with the process. My little brother ends up signing to go there. And he told me, he said, he called and he was like, Brock, have you ever thought about coaching college? So I said, yeah. I said that's one of my goals. I want to try to attain that. I've done a lot in high school. I would like to try something for myself. And he was like, well, we have a defensive line spot available. Want to know if you'll come up and interview.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll do it. Now, granted, I have never done an interview in my life. The only interviews I did was like, they'll say, hey, come talk to me. I talk, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, you come on.
Right,
like you.
right. Not a real official interview.
Yeah, not a real official interview. So I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm like, man, what is about to happen? So it's so crazy I come back to it. So I'm talking to Coach Jaluk at the time. I'm talking to Coach Dave. They're in college already. And they're like giving me pointers on stuff like this, like that. And I'm like, all right, so I get all this stuff together. I'm nervous, never done it before. I get up there to do the interview, and I got my binder, I got my little what you call it, jump drive, all that stuff. And I sit in the room, and I'm already kind of shell shocked because I'm like, man, this dinner's done. Like, when I was in high school, this dinner's done.
He was that dude.
So he's sitting in there. He said, Brock, listen, I just want to learn about you. That's all he said. He said, just tell me about you. And we talked for like an hour, probably an hour and a half. And he was like, we good. We talk all that. Coach Charles like, man, we'll get back to you. We'll find out. So we go to fill up. Coach Charles actually paid for my gas to drive up. And he goes to fill me up. And he's like, listen, I'll let you know how it goes. It's just a part of the process. We'll go from there. So I'm like, cool.
You felt good about it?
I did. I felt good because I was like, man, we just talked about me.
Right.
And not knowing that.
So y'all ain't do no board talk?
We didn't do any of that. So
crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy because like when you think interview, you think like we're sitting at this desk, everybody's there.
Correct.
But in college, the interviews are so different because everybody's so different on how they do things. So I'm driving away, heading back to New Orleans, and then they call me. And they're like, listen, Coach Dunn said he really liked you. Like, he want to offer you the job. Would you take it? So I'm like, man, I really like, I got offered a college job. So I'm like excited.
You're excited.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. He like, you want to know how much you pay? I'm like, yeah, how much you pay, right? So at the time, I was moving up because I didn't know if I'd get in college. So I had kind of started to get into administration. So I was working at a middle school, and I was a dean and all this stuff. And I thought I was on top of the world, man. I was making, with my coach and everything, it was like $51,000. So I'm like, man, I'm rich, right? I'm rich. Because when I first started teaching,
you was in a class.
Yeah, it was $18,000, right? And I was, I wasn't tripping. I'm like, I'm gonna make it work.
Right.
So I was like, cool. He was like, we're gonna offer you 30. I was like, oh, okay, 30.
$21,000
pay cut.
Pay cut.
Lord.
But I was like, man, listen, if this is the chance I gotta take it. I didn't care where it was or what it was. I'm like, this is the chance. That's the window. Nah. I still have to make decisions, not just based off of me, because I was married at the time. No kids. I was married. I told her, listen, this is what I want to do. Just trust me on this. We can do it. She decided to trust me. She had every right to be like, no, or whatever.
Right.
She decided.
Right.
We go to Alexandria. I'm there for the year, right? I'm coaching. Fun. That's when we did the first podcast after the season. And like I'm on top of it. I'm like, man, I'm in college. So I'm like, all right. So when the SEC job come, I start thinking like that, right? I start thinking like that. I'm like, I made it. So the next jump, yeah, still trying to skip steps.
Oh, Miss calling. Look,
and I'm like,
State calling.
And I'm like, let me backtrack for a minute. So I always had people in my ear that would like talk to me about like how this process goes, right?
Right.
Because I'm thinking, man, I done signed all these guys. All I need to do is get in, then they'll blow up. But that's not how it works.
That's how it works.
And I loved my time at LC. Like I learned a lot from Coach Dunn. and from Coach Charles. And it's so crazy. We go through spring, so I'm getting ready for year 2. We've been out recruiting, and then I get a phone call. And it's crazy. I get a phone call from Tim Rebo at Nicholls State.
Tim.
Coach Rebo calls me. And it's crazy how our relationship developed because he recruited New Orleans. He actually signed our safety from Miller McCoy to UL. Always treated Coach the right way. He was a good dude. We had a great relationship. It was just outside of football. It was more than football.
Right.
And he called and he was like, Brock, I'm gonna have an opening. Got a coach leaving. Would you be interested? And I'm like, man, I said, that's crazy. Like, he called me, like Coach Rebo called me for the job. This was going into his second year at Nicholls. And I was like, yeah, I'd be interested. You know, I said, listen, just call Coach Dunn. We talk and we go from there. He called Coach Dunn, told him he wanted to talk to me. And I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I got to get ready for another interview. That's what I'm thinking in my head as he's saying it.
Right.
So he was like, it's only one catch to it. So I'm like, what? He was like, it's going to be running backs. So I'm like, I paused for a second. I'm like, wait, dog.
Opposite side.
I'm like, I've coached D-line my whole high school career for 9.
Right.
My first year in college is D-line. And he was like, running backs. And I was like, I had to think for a second. I said, man, if this the opportunity, I mean, you got to take it. And the first thing he said was, if you can coach, you can coach. And I was like, I'll do it. I'm all for it. So
Tell that to Matt Patricia.
he coaching all over the field.
Right.
So
Back
I
in the defense, brother.
I get there, and money pretty much the same, right? It ain't always about the money. It was the opportunity I was looking for. Chance for me to get closer to home. With another guy that I know now, you know. So I take the job, and he's like, listen, I was able to get you a little more. So I was like, okay. He's like, but you got to do something else. I'm like, what? He was like, you have to be the video coordinator. So I'm like, the video coordinator.
Now you got to be Eric Spoelstra.
I'm doing both. So I'm
You
like,
got to put that time in.
But if you look back at it, what happened in my first job? I was filming.
Yeah, filming.
So I had already had. It's crazy how it came back full circle. Had a good feeling and understanding for it. So I'm like, cool. I do that. I'm at Nicholls. And when I get there, he don't. And if he see this, he gonna bust out laughing because I don't think I ever told him how I felt about it either. So when I get there, he's like, "All right, so you are gonna coach the running backs?" He said, "Now this is the only thing. I have a DB turn running back and 4 true freshmen."
Wow.
I'm like, I don't even know the position, and you want me to coach it and like everybody raw?
Right. 4 freshmen and somebody
Switching position. Switching position.
Yes.
damn.
So I'm like, Lord have mercy.
All y'all learning on the job.
Learning on the go. So I'm like, man, I don't want to mess this up. So I'm like YouTubing, I'm calling people, I'm learning, I'm getting all, because at the end of the day, you still got to research your position.
Correct.
So I get a good base for it, and we had some great coaches there who worked with me, and like I sat down with them, the O-line coach and everybody, the OC and everybody, and we sat there and we talked, and the first year we had some success, right? And then I was like, I need to take it to another level. Like, I want to really learn it. So I really dove into it going into year 2. And we ended up rushing for over 200 yards a game the second year. We make the playoffs. We host a playoff game, I think, for the first time in Nicholls history. We having a lot of success. I'm like, man, we are rolling. That's when it started. That's when everything started with Nicholls. Coach Rebo was coach of the year. Like, it's great. I have so much respect for Coach Rebo because he helped elevate my career to another level. You know, and God placed him there for a reason.
Right.
And I'm going into year 3, and I get a phone call. I'll never forget. The cane fields backed up by the apartment where I stayed. I'm walking the dog, right? It's Saturday morning. It's crazy I can remember the day and everything. And I get a phone call from a number, and I'm like, who is this? And they're like, is this Brock? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, who is this? And he's like, I'm the offensive coordinator at Southern Miss. So it was Shannon Dawson, who's from Louisiana as well.
He coached at Southeastern when I was there.
Yep, he sure did. And now he's the OC at Houston. He calls and he's like, listen, man, we looking for a young coach who could recruit New Orleans. Your name keep coming up. So now the relationships I developed within the city from coaching here, playing down here, recruiting it now, it's coming back full circle to help.
Yeah.
So he calls and he's like, listen, we want to do an interview. I'm like, listen, y'all call Coach Rebo. We go from there. We do this.
Right.
I go to Southern Miss. So Nicholls, I didn't do an interview either. Like Rebo just called. You want to take it.
Right.
So I go to Southern Miss. This is the real interview. A real one.
Right.
So
this is the one with the clipboard and you
this everything. Man, I'm sitting at the desk, the whole offensive staff in there, and they like, so Coach Dawson was like, all right, go to the board. So I'm like, oh, damn, like right out the back? Right. Just like this?
Right. They want to see your knowledge.
Man, we go to the board. I swear, it started at like 8:30. It was over at like 3 o'clock. Never took a break. No nothing.
Damn.
And we doing the interview.
I hope they had Gatorade.
I don't even know, to be honest. I was just going. So I'm like, man, this is like this real right here. And like, I didn't even know I knew that much football. And we were just going and talking and everything. And then a week later, they ended up calling to give me the job. Like, do you want it? I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. I take the job at Southern Miss under Coach Hobson. And when I get there, they're like, we moving you. I'm like, moving me? They was like, yeah, we about to make you coach tight ends. I'm like, hold up, man. I didn't apply to, like, to the coach tight ends. I don't even know that.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, man. So I go there, and I got so blessed in the position to be there because they gave me a grad assistant, right, a GA.
Mm-hmm.
Never had a GA. Well, my GA ends up being a guy that won the Remington Award his senior year, gets drafted by the Patriots. Tom Brady starting center, wins Super Bowls. He's working with me. His name's Brian Stork. Yep. He had retired from the game. He just wanted to coach. So I'm with him. I'm learning all type of stuff. Run game, how you block, technique, everything, right?
And he the GA.
And he the GA, teaching me everything. So I go there, and I do what I'm supposed to do. And then after a year, I get a call from Skip Holtz and Joe Sloan. And they're like, man, we interested, at Louisiana Tech. So I'm like, man, it's a chance to come back home. My retirement already here. I'm in the school system. And same deal. Coach won't meet with you. I go to meet with Coach Skip. I don't even do an interview. We just sit there and just talk. It was just like when I was with Coach Dunn.
Right. And
he was like, we want to offer you the job. So I go to Tech and had success. I was there the last 3 years. And then I get the opportunity to coach with Coach Summerall at Troy. And I actually met Coach Summerall when he was at Tulane as the co-DC when I was coaching at Carr, and we just always kept a good relationship. And when he got the opportunity to be a head coach, he reached out and was like, Brock, it's an opportunity. Do you want it? We go from there. And I was like, Coach, I'm all for it, man. I said, let's do it. Let's do it. And I'm here today.
Is it a coincidence that everywhere you've been, you've had so much success? Like with your running backs and team success, like everywhere you've been, y'all win. Is that just like God's favor? Like, what are you covered with the blood? I mean, what is it?
Put that on your cover page.
I don't know, man. I must be the good luck charm. I don't know, man. I tell you, it's just like my life. Every time I could have went left, God just always placed somebody there that kept me in the right direction moving forward. And it's been the same thing in my career. Like, I've been blessed to be around some great coaches who I keep learning from. And good players. I mean, at the end of the day, you're only as good as the players that you have. I've been able to recruit some good players, develop good players, and I think it just all ties back into just my background of who I am, the way I operate, the way I'm wired, my teaching background, and just being able to relate and get these guys to understand what we're trying to do. Because as a coach, it's just like I said before, if you can't relate information to them, how successful are you as a coach?
Right.
Correct.
So God just been blessing me, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if you follow me on the Twitter and Instagram and everything, you're gonna see the same thing about me. I'm always promoting others. I'm always trying to help others do stuff because it's never about me. I feel like I'm in a position where I can bring light to things, and I want to be able to do that because people did it for me. So why would I be selfish and not lend that hand back out or help the next person that's trying to do stuff? Because it's crazy because I get guys all the time reach out to me. They're like, man, like, I look up to you. I follow you. And I'm like, me? Like, that's what I was doing to other people.
Right.
And you never see how the tables flip and turn.
Yeah.
You know what? It's crazy that you said that because we was talking at the coaches convention this summer, and it was like 3 guys that walked up to you, and you, like, your face when they said it, cause like it was you, Dave, and Corday, and we all just just sitting there talking, and somebody said that you looking at Dave, you're like, yeah, Brock, I've been watching, you doing big days at Troy now, man. You good? You like this for me?
No, it's like it's
surreal.
It's really like it catch you off guard because you don't like. Everybody got their own motives of why they do things.
Correct.
For me, my motive was, how can I do something to help somebody else? Always been like that.
Right.
Like, I could care less what happens for me. And if something does happen for me, I'm texting the people like, I wouldn't be in this position because of you.
Correct.
Like, I had an opportunity my last year at Tech, I got selected to the AFCA 35 on 35, which is a huge honor for guys that's like fast rising young guys, just 35 guys out of college, NFL, and high school that get selected for that.
Correct.
And when I got it, man, it was like, it was shocking. You know, I was excited I got it. But the first thing I did, I started texting people, dog, listen, this is like for all us. Like this gonna help.
Just for me.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's gonna help
get hit
all
by
us.
myself.
Exactly. Like it's gonna put us in another realm. Like it's gonna bring light to more stuff. Especially like coaches from this city that coach high school, that's coaching in college. Like you gotta understand, like it's bigger than you. Like I look at it, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but this is how I look at it. I look at it like anytime I'm doing something, it's just like I tell the guys, as a man, all you have is your tongue and the last name on the back of your jersey. You don't want to tarnish either one of them, because if you do, you're not only letting yourself down, you're letting your name down, and you don't want that. So I always look at stuff from the mindset of, it's not about me, it's about everybody else that I can affect and impact that could be coming up under me, because they're going to have guys that want to do this. How can I put myself in position to put them in position to start moving up? And that's just how I operate when I think about stuff like that. So having that honor was huge, but I'm like, man, this for everybody, because now they're like, well, where he from? Where did he coach at? Right. There's more guys like me. Right. They'll call, like we go to the convention and I help more guys get jobs than people contacting me.
Right.
Because people, I guess when you develop yourself and you have a certain brand, people just look at you a certain way, right? And I'm like, use it for good. Why be selfish and like keep everything to myself?
Right.
If I help somebody and they pass me up, good for them. I tell people all the time, plant a seed, man. Plant a seed. Don't be selfish. Help the next person. You never know what it is.
That's how God bless you on the back end too.
Yeah.
We'll keep blessing you on the back end.
Talk about how you adapted to some of the changes that now you see with sports, high school sports, college sports, because you got the transfer portal going on right now. And obviously this has to be some level of adapting for coaches. Obviously you're used to probably getting a guy who's a true freshman, he's going to be in 2-3 years. But you got guys coming in each and every year. How have you adapted to create these relationships with people now? Because you can't assure that people are going to be here for more than 3 or 4 seasons now.
Right.
Like where it previously used to be, you had a guy, you got a true freshman, man, he going to probably be here, give or take 4 years, probably 5 if you redshirt. But now it's in and out. How you made those adjustments to create those relationships?
And with the NIL dynamic.
Yeah.
Right. So it's with anything in life, change is going to occur. If you don't adapt to it, you get passed up.
Right.
So you have to be able to evolve with everything that's going on. I mean, relationship-wise, just be who you are. And I just feel like if you are a genuine person, people are going to know that. Think about it when we played sports. You knew if a coach cared or if a coach was full of BS.
Yeah.
And you're going to run through a wall for the coach that cared, and you really wouldn't do so much for the other guy. You do what you're supposed to, but you wouldn't I wouldn't run through a wall for him. You know, so I think creating those relationships and the dynamics of those help in some aspects of recruiting, getting guys to come, getting guys to stay. Now, I'm not opposed to the transfer portal, because it's good and bad. It have its pros and its cons.
With anything.
With anything that goes on, like for the transfer portal, if guys are getting in it for the right reason, everybody have reasons behind it. Like if it's an opportunity, like the NLI is in, if you got an opportunity to make money, go make money. Who am I to tell you not to go make money?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, go make money. That opportunity is presented now. We didn't have that when we played.
Right.
Take advantage of it. Like, when those opportunities come, you have to take advantage of it. And then you have some guys, like, they might have sat for a while and they're not seeing that they're going to have an opportunity to play, and they just want to play. Well, this opportunity of getting in the transfer portal gives you an opportunity to go somewhere to play.
Right.
So it has its pros. Now, the bad thing about it is when guys get in it for the wrong reason. Like, they don't really want to fight through things. Like, I'm going to just leave.
Right.
I don't like what's going on. Like at the end of the day in life, nothing is going to be perfect.
Right.
You have got to learn how to handle adversity and deal with it. So like I said, when it comes to the transfer portal, I'm good with it as long as you're doing it for the right thing. Like I said, everybody have different reasons behind it. When you talk about the dynamics of your room in the portal, I mean, you're going to lose some guys and some guys are just going to stay. Like, you can't control that. Everybody family situation is different. Their dynamics are different.
That's true.
So
That's true.
they have to make the best decision for them. And I tell them at the end, they're like, listen, if you're doing what's best for you, I'm not mad about it.
Right.
I'm not mad about it at all. But the one thing you can't do, and like anything in life, never make an emotional decision.
Right.
Make sure you've thought this out. You have a plan. You know exactly what you're trying to do. And, just talk those guys through it. Because a lot of them just kind of do it and don't have a plan.
No, they get in the portal and they come to find out that it's not like when it was coming out of high school. Like when
Exactly.
you were coming out of high school, you had all these offers. I got my top 5 list, and you had that little maturation period where everyone was just trying to, I would say, wine and dine you. But when you get in that portal, that process doesn't appear like that. You got to make a decision and make it fast, because if not, these spots fill up. Now you stuck out.
Right, because it's more to choose from at the positions. So you have to, know exactly what you're trying to do, or you'll
have
get
a
stuck
set
out.
plan.
Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys in the portal who have entered it that don't end up landing spots.
Yep.
And, people don't really talk about that. And they need to talk to these young men about this. Like, dog, it goes both ways now. Like, they're going to promote everything like these people signed this and this, but they never talk about the guys that get left out, and it's like they don't have anywhere to go, or they have to go walk on somewhere now, or, you're losing full scholarships because you went to go chase something else. Like, you just got to understand, like, just make sure you're making a conscious effort and decision on what you're trying to do.
Let me ask you this. As a coach,
Mhm.
what do you miss about high school?
Man.
And what was that moment as a coach in any level when you feel like, all right, I made it. Like I'm coaching. I see
Mhm.
I see the practice drills, the EDDs, the relationship. That play look like, all right, yeah.
So for me, that is a good question. So I'll go off the second question first. So when I really figured it out was probably during my time towards the end at Tech, before I got to Troy, where I was like, I know this.
Right.
I know this because I was like, I had been studying it. I had been trying to perfect the craft of it. I had been going out to meet with people about it. Obviously, I had to coach tight end, so it forced me to learn blocking schemes, leverage points, and tying it all in really was getting me to where I was like, I know this,
And confident about
and
it.
confident. And when I got the job at Troy, I was like, this is the best I'm at right now.
Right.
And I know that's not, I'm still going to keep rising.
Right.
And I'm like, man, this is like the best I'm at. And this year we had a lot of success, and my room had a lot of success. Like my starting back was just shy of 1,200.
Right.
The backup was just shy of 700. Like almost had 2 backs go for 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
And when I look back at it, I'm like, I couldn't get to this point if everything that started my career up to this point didn't get me to where I was at. And it just it's crazy when you look back at it. Like, I thought I knew when I started, and when I look back over 18 years, I'm like, it's not even close to what I know now, opposed to what I thought I knew then.
You thought the curve would be like this,
Yeah,
but
and
realizing the curve did this.
yes, it was all
It's
over.
all over the place, and then now you're here, and it's like, man, what you started out maybe 18 years of talking that it's gonna do this, may have a little dip here, and the road just went so chaotic and so
Right.
all over the place to get you where you are. And I think everyone goes into something thinking that I'm not saying they don't pretend that the worst can't happen. They just think that the dip is gonna just be small, but it's gonna get back on rising. And
Exactly.
and it's not how it works.
Because it's just like navigating through coaching. Like, you don't control what happens. You have to, when opportunities present themselves, you have to be ready to take them, not getting ready to take them. You have to put yourself in a position to be like, I'm going to get to a certain point where when these opportunities come, I want to make sure I'm ready to get into them. Because who's to say I would have been successful at Troy now if I would have got this job 3 years ago?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And me not trying to skip the steps and starting to realize, like, you got to go through what you go through to get to where you're going, made it that much more appealing to me, like making me realize, like,
Timing is
it's
everything.
a journey. It's really it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Right.
And when you get that mindset, then you like, all right, let me just keep learning. Let me keep growing. Because if you ever get to the point where you feel like you know it all, you got it, you better get out. Because that's when you're going to start to do this.
Yep.
I don't ever want to decline. I want to keep rising.
Yeah.
I tell my guys all the time, the standard is the standard. Like, set the standard. Set the standard. Because if you set a standard, that's the thing that you're trying to attain every single time with whatever you're doing in life.
Yes.
And it's crazy. And like you said, like, the moment that you missed the most in high school, for me, it wasn't even the coaching. It was like I loved teaching. I loved teaching. Like, I taught classes. I wasn't just a PE teacher. Like, I taught classes. So for me, the hardest thing for me when I first got to college was not being in the population anymore. Like, I was the coach everybody come play with, talk to, all that.
Correct.
You know, the girls through the hallway messing with you, the boys in the hallway. And that was one of the hardest things for me when I first got to college. And I almost got out. I'm like, man, I had a chance to get in college. I'm like, I never thought I would be in a building all day, because basically in college you're in a building all day.
Right.
But in high school, you're in the
you're in the
population.
population.
You're amongst everybody.
You're amongst everybody.
I'm a people's person. I love
Building
joking. I like
relationships,
having
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, Coach Jalou was the one that told me. He was like, this is what you got to do, because it was the hardest thing for me too. He said, leave the office every day. Just go walk on campus. Go to the union.
Yeah.
Or go eat in the calf. He said,
Can't
just
go wrong
do
with
that.
the calf.
Just do
Can't
that
go
for a
wrong with
while.
the calf.
And what he was saying was, he wasn't saying to go and talk to people. He was like,
Get in the population.
get in the population, feel it, feel what it was, and eventually it'll start to fade. And that's what it started to do. And then I was like, all right, I'm like over the homesickness of
Right.
not being in school no
Right.
more.
You couldn't
Right.
be a Southeastern calf or Southeastern Union. Boy, it was lit.
G,
We was lit.
yes.
We was
Yes.
lit.
Well,
Yes.
I don't
He
know.
went to Graham.
I went to Graham, so
Man, we was
we
lit.
had fun at
G,
Grambling. We had
we was
fun
lit.
at Grambling.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They don't look calf like an HBCU calf. Y'all better stop.
I
We
do-
had the good food now.
Ain't nothing like Willie Burgers, boy.
Oh, man, I have a lot of conversations with kids and parents all the time about their child's recruiting process, and why this kid on my child's team getting offers and my child's not, and just the whole evaluation process and how college coaches and these universities go about their business when you targeting certain players to bring into your class. Kind of talk about that process, man. When y'all identify certain players, what are y'all looking for, man, when y'all trying to get a kid to come to your program and be a part of y'all recruiting class?
Man, every program is different, but still similar in the way they do things. When we're out recruiting, the first thing we have to identify is, does this student athlete fit what we do?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing, because if you look in, you have certain positions where you want certain type of guys playing it,
Yeah.
so that plays a big part in it.
If I want a linebacker, I want somebody a little aggressive.
Right,
Not
just
violent,
depending
but
on,
just a little aggressive.
or like I'm on the offense side of the ball. If we're looking for a tight end, do we want a guy that has his hand in the dirt, or do we want a guy that's like a hip that can be an extension guy to get? Like, that's two different type of body styles and type of play.
Correct.
So it comes down to that, and then on top of that, then you have to like really dive in and interview and dissect the kid. Like, does he fit the culture of where we at? Like at Troy, it's in a rural area. So if you're a guy that wants city life,
This ain't
partying, that's not going to be the right fit.
Alabama
for you.
ain't for you.
It's
Right.
not the right fit. But if you want to play football, you gritty, hard nosed, and want to get a degree, then it's an ideal fit for you. So being able to find those type of guys is really the most important thing. And that's from our perspective. Now, when you talk about an athlete, because I've been on both spectrums of it as a high school coach and now as a recruiter. When I was in high school, I would feel like them, like, man, like, recruit our guys, do this and that. But you fail to realize that your kid might be the best kid in your school.
Right.
But is he the best school kid in that area?
Right.
Is he the best kid in that state? Is
Right.
he the best kid in that region?
Right.
It's just more to choose from.
Right.
Right.
And you won't understand it until you actually
get
on
there.
the other side to see that. And when I look back over it, I'm like, man, I used to like get mad at some of these coaches.
Right,
And I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I see it now. Like, you won't understand until you actually in it.
Right.
And when it come to guys, I tell the players all the time, like, control what you can control. Academics, Because if the academics are not good, you automatically drop down the list.
Yep.
Because
Correct.
how can we get you into school if you're not doing what you're
You can't
supposed
get
to
enrolled.
academically? Like I tell them all the time, you're a student athlete, not an athlete student.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reason student comes first. Academics is always going to come first. Because even when you're in school, it's percentage towards degree. Like you have to pass a certain amount of hours just to be eligible.
Every year.
Yeah, or you're going to lose what you have.
Right.
So that's a main focal point. Like academically, you have to be qualified and have
9
the
hours
grades
ain't
to do
enough,
stuff.
students.
No, you gotta.
9 hours
get
ain't
it.
enough.
You gotta get it.
Let me
12
ask you,
plus.
To add on to G question, how much do y'all as the college football realm take football IQ into recruiting?
Oh, a lot. Like when I get guys to come up on campus, we don't just show them the campus. Now we actually like have position meetings with them because you want to see like can they retain some information that you're giving them, because that's a big part. Because in college, it's gonna be a lot more detailed because you have more time devoted to football. Like we taking your time, opposed
It's
to
a
high
job.
school. Yeah, it's a job. Opposed to high school where you got class all day, you go to practice, then you just going home. Well, nah, we got you. Like,
Yep.
and it's more detailed. It's more organized in a sense than when it was in high school. So getting those guys to like get on the board and you just give them a little bit and just see how they retain it really helps a lot, because it depends on the scheme you're in too. You know,
Right.
like some schemes are difficult, some are simple. So you have to recruit certain type of guys as well for that. So it's a lot of factors that play into how guys get recruited. And just going back to when I said about control outside of the grades, and then just play. You can't control who likes you and who wants to recruit you. It's the same thing I tell the guys in my room. You can't control what NFL team wants you.
Right.
Either they like you or they don't. What you can control is playing, doing what you need to do, graduate, and if that happens, that happens. You know, so like I said, and I'm pretty sure it's a different spectrum with NFL on how they look at guys. Like they might not look at the same things we look at. We're looking at character of a guy. Can he fit? Is he a culture guy? You know, all those type of things when we're looking at athletes. Now,
They're looking at measurables most times. They're looking at
Well,
athletic.
that's what I was about to ask. I was about to say size, height, weight, and speed. Because you got some kids, they like, man, I led my team in tackles with 140 tackles. This kid, he getting recruited and he only had 80 tackles. But
He might have the measurables.
I try to explain to some kids, I'm like, bro,
He might have the measurables.
this kid 6'1", 225. You 5'10", 180.
And you
Playing wheel linebacker.
and you
Right.
play, and you played in front of a D line that's 6'3"
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
Of course
And-
you gonna make
And,
the tackle.
and sometimes you having exceptions.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you have a room full of exceptions, then you shit out of luck.
You out of luck.
I mean,
Hang yourself.
It's still catch-22 because like for us, who I think is probably the greatest Trojan to play at our school, just measured at the Senior Bowl at 5'7", 210. He leads college football in all of tackles.
So you think did DeMarcus
So-
Ware go down?
DeMarcus
DeMarcus
Ware
Ware,
went
yeah.
there as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of guys went to the school,
DeMarcus Ware went.
and
First round pick out
for
of
us,
He got to be the beginning.
it's not so much about measurables and stuff. Yeah, it plays a factor, but dog, if you can play, we come and get you. Like we want ball players. That's the one thing I like about where I'm at. Where like we're not really harping on like, oh, is he 6'1", is he 6'2"? Can he play? If he
Not-
can play, then we rolling with it.
And see, that's the difference. See, now that's why I wanted to get into this, because every school is different. Like, you know, I had a kid I was mentoring, and it was like, gee, we love him. His film is great. He's a dog. But his wingspan's only 72 inches. And his hands is not as big as we thought it was. And I'm like, bro, you just said he a dog.
When you put on the tape, can he catch?
But
Can
and
he
I
play?
understand it in a sense, because you know the kid we were talking about, he plays DN, and you know he was breaking it down like, man, gee, when he go against these SEC tackles,
the length,
and stuff like that, and I get it, but it's like, you know, he's like a Meek Robinson,
yes,
right?
Right.
He's an exception.
yeah,
Correct.
He's an exception.
He was different.
You know
He
what I'm
was
saying?
different.
Some people you just gotta like, when you turn in film on, you gotta be like, all right,
Right.
we gotta take the measurables out the window.
Right.
But
You know what I mean?
But to his point, Amik went to La Tech.
Yes,
He did fell into that same stigma trying to get to a SC school. Not because he couldn't get in one.
There was he,
Yeah.
but
But
they
but-
had one.
Yeah,
That was
but-
just-
I'm
that
not
was-
saying
but
that.
shit was right.
But to Coach Brock Hayes' point, You know how you were talking about they look for guys they live in a rural area. If you're looking for the city life, this probably not for you.
Not for you.
Well, Meek Robinson, why did he go to Ruston? He talked about it in his interview. He said, "Man, I didn't want to go somewhere where it was a big city, where there was a lot going on. I wanted to go somewhere where I could be focused and a small town." And that's why he was a 3-time All-American.
Well, yeah,
Right.
Good.
And look, I'm not saying measurables are not important. It is. Like,
It's a
But
fact.
it's not the
still
end-all
a fact.
be-all.
It's not the end all be all. It's not.
But
it's not.
Is it?
Yeah, but
for the student body and for for the board of trustees is it more optical in some tape? Like so I guess the question. So let's say there's a kid at Elder High School down from where G from that's 6 foot even, got numbers like Pooka Williams. All right. Then you got a kid that got Pooka Williams numbers. They got similar numbers, but he's 6'3", like he you know what I'm saying, he the one like the kid from Homer. From Homer. The
Yeah,
kid,
yeah.
that
He just
everybody
signed with
like-
Texas Southern.
There's like everybody like just oozing up just because how he look and stuff, and like, yeah, but hey, I got a kid that's smaller that does the same exact thing that he does and fits us better. But then it's like,
Well, now you're probably going off character now.
you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Well,
it
it
don't-
don't sell the tickets. It's like I guess that's what like how
I
much
would
is
say
that in
this.
the weight factor?
I don't think that has anything to do with it, like where they from and stuff like that. You sell tickets by winning. You got to win for people to come to games. People don't want to be associated with losers. So where they come from or the area, that really has nothing to do with it at all. Like I'm like almost 100% sure. Everywhere I've been, that's not like, oh, don't recruit this kid because he's from there, or recruit this kid because he's from this place.
Right.
Nah, we literally are going for like who we think fits us best, who's the right player, who's the right fit, and then let's roll from there. Because as a program, you have an identity and a culture. And you want to make sure you uphold that and it withstands anything that happens. Because if not, and you have chinks in the armor, then it's going to start to break down.
You'll be surprised how many high school coaches tell their kids that just because, like, they use that as an excuse just because they won't, like, I'm not too proud to say, hey, G, look, I got this kid, you know more people in this area. See, put his name out there. If fish bite, you know, let me know.
Right.
You know, I'm not you, but you got something that's like, hey, if they can't pull it up in their phone because they want the gratification, saying,
Yeah.
I'm the reason why Jim Bob got to that school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
I mean,
and you have more of them than you do of
the one thing we got to do, and I still consider myself a high school coach even though I ain't in it. The one thing we have to do, we all have to still work together. Because at the end of the day, it's about the kids. It's not about us. And when I was coaching high school, I didn't care where a kid went. A recruiter came and I'd be like, hey, they got this kid over here you need to go see.
Yeah.
They got this kid over here you need to go see.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I'm at Louisiana College, right? And we're watching a practice. We don't offer scholarships because it was D3.
Right.
There are legitimate coaches at the practice, and I'm telling them, like, listen, they got this kid here, they got this kid at this school. And he like, you helping me? I'm like, yeah. He was like, why? I said, dog, listen, I'm trying to help these kids get out.
Right.
Give them an opportunity to go somewhere. And he was looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, listen, you have an opportunity to offer them a scholarship. I can't. They can get academic scholarships, but they can't get the actual scholarships. I'm like, man, go see these kids. Go see this and that. And the dude's like, man, he's like, man, I really respect you for that because you ain't had to do that. I don't even know him.
Integrity.
Don't know him. But
goes a long way.
it's all about helping. Like, if you in it for the wrong reason, why be a coach? It's not about you. It's about everybody else.
And this is about, and I know we gotta get it wrap up, but I look at it this way because I'm not a coach, but I look at it this way: those resources that are available are for them.
Yes.
They're for them.
Yes.
That's for the kid.
But
Why not try to get somebody? Hey, listen, go see this kid. Go see this kid. Why? Those resources are there for them. You get compensated a different way, but
be
the
surprised,
scholarships
bro.
I'm talking about, that's for them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not playing no more.
You'd be surprised. like for
That's how I
instance,
think.
for instance, G has a 7-on-7 team.
Mm-hmm.
G will always say, Big Hen, who you got up there that can help me our 7-on-7 team?
Right.
And most of the names I give him is not from my school.
Right.
and it's a 2
Nothing against your kid.
It's a 2-point factor. One, look, the style that I know he's about to put y'all in, and I ain't even talking about like football wise, the traveling, the in and out of hotels, the
It's
being
exposure.
responsible. I'm putting you on my brother's team.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, hey, he's the one, he's gonna take my word for it. I'll put you on my brother's team.
No doubt.
But you don't understand that he's a brand himself.
Right.
So I'm not gonna do. I'm protecting you. Hey, look, you're not ready for this yet, but I'm also protecting him. Like he could be like, hey, man, come on, man. Hey, no.
Right.
And then when we get out of he's Under Armour. I'm Coach Singleton. When we get out of that, we're like, hey, look, man, he don't make it to practice on time. Man, he still his mama called to go here and there. You don't want to be. Right. He's doing this in Greensburg, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
You going to TCU?
Right.
What is he gonna do there?
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's a give and take, and he does it. He's been doing it. I've been doing it, but like I feel like it's not enough us.
Right.
And if it is us out there that's doing it that type of way for the kids and only for the kids, their voices not being heard because you have more people and you see them at coaches convention and all that stuff. They come in there like I won 2 state championships. How many times have y'all see me with my ring on? Like it's because to
Some
me,
people have hidden agendas.
Bryce, I that's one there. Like I guess even because we played against them, like we're from the same area and all that stuff. That whole staff, we'll sit there, we'll clown or whatever. I've never seen Bryce with a state championship ring on. Never seen Nick, never seen Norman, never seen T. Howard, never seen Noel, I never seen.
I don't wear mine.
You know what I'm saying? I've never seen.
It's a great moment that we were able to accomplish something as a team, as coaches with the players, but
it's really about the players.
it's about them. It's about them.
I don't see a conference championship ring.
None of that. I'm not gonna wear none of that.
Unless it's like a banquet or something.
Yeah, if we got a banquet,
It's different.
I'll do it. But like,
we gotta get that when the new dome, athletic dome, gotta get built. Old Mr. Cecil, who been a season ticket holder forever.
We need funding.
But and to tie it back in, like as a coach, you have an obligation to be a mentor, to help these kids. Like you have got to pour into them. Or why are you coaching? It's not about anything else but helping them grow and achieve. And it still comes back to the same thing. Just like the kids, their word and their last name. You don't want them to mess it up and tarnish it because they have to be able to grow in life. Because the things they experience at 9, thinking at 15, 16, 17, is not going to be the same thing that we're experiencing at 37, 38, 39.
Facts.
So give them an opportunity, give them an avenue to be able to explore something different from what they know, to give them a chance to be able to blossom into something that they couldn't even imagine. And that's why I've been so blessed that because I've always had somebody step in at this point or that point that's been able to keep me grounded. And it's just blossoming. Like I'm a seed. I talk about planting seed. I'm a seed that was planted, and now my tree giving off seeds, and I want to make sure that grow. Because if you can affect one person, that's all it takes. Yeah. And get that person to affect one. Now you steadily doing it. It's always moving forward.
Man, Brock, man, I have a real appreciation for our friendship, man. Just over the years, just all the personal talks we done had, and even outside of football.
Yeah.
Just about my kids, your kids, relationships. I don't take that kind of stuff for granted, and I just respect your passion and how you're a student of the game and how you just put your all into your craft, man. And that's why you've been seeing so much success at all the stuff that you've been at. And I know God got nothing but a bigger plan for you going forward, man. You're going to keep elevating. There's no doubt in my mind. But before we let you go, we got to do Brock's favorites.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go.
Pressure.
Favorite shoes all time.
Oh, man. Favorite shoes of all time.
And you grew up in our era. You the same age as us. Don't make us put you on a he bad list.
Man, favorite shoes of all time.
BK Knights.
Man, that's tough, man. Because like I had a big foot and we couldn't afford shoes, so I have like one pair of shoes the whole school year.
Preach.
So if I go back like that, I would probably have to say like I wore G Nikes because they were cheap, and like that's what I got now. You know, that's what I got now. I need to be truthful too because this last year was my first time ever buying a pair of Jordans. Right? So my room like to mess with me. They call me Big Smooth. Talking about you think you fly, you think you fresh. So I'm like, all right. I bought my first pair of J's, and I kid you not, and I know this might be a little extra. I buy my first pair of J's, and for the year, I ended up like hitting on the app and kept winning. So I ended up my first year ever buying J's was last year. I have 1s, 3s, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13.
You gotta take a picture with him on.
So and look, the running back room loved to mess with me. Oh, look at him. He think he's smooth. He got all them J. He think he. I was like, that was something I always wanted to do growing up that I never got the chance, and now I got it. So, but they're not my favorite shoe. But I'm like, that's something I wanted to do.
Right.
You know, so I had an opportunity, so I did it. But it would probably be I'd probably say G Nikes. You know, I don't wear them no more, but you know,
I need to bring them back.
Yeah,
Bring them back.
Man, they high now.
Favorite football player of all time, whether it's high school, college, pro.
Ooh, this man. Favorite football player of all time. I kid you not. I love Deuce McAllister.
For real? Yep. That's a surprising one.
Deuce.
I love Deuce,
because
man.
he played for the Saints, or
that had a lot to do with it, and I just always loved watching him play.
Gotcha.
It's a little hard in football. I go by like positions.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look
Deion,
at it.
my favorite all time. That's why I wore 21 in high school.
Man.
Deion.
Yeah, I ain't like Prime was it.
Yeah.
Prime was
That's
it.
some good names, man. That is some good
Derek
names.
Thomas was mine for the longest.
I love Derek Thomas.
Yeah.
Lawrence is so good.
Oh yeah.
Derek
Yeah.
Thomas was one.
Yeah.
Because
Monster.
he was the first person I seen, like
Monster.
especially playing D line. He was the first person I see do the hump move.
He died on the field?
Like
No, that was Reggie Lewis.
yeah. He did the hump move on Willie Wolf, and to
Love
one
Willie
on
Wolf.
to be 6'3",
Too bad Joe Horn didn't love him.
and
Y'all crazy. I don't know nothing about that. What's the
he
next
loved
one?
the right.
What's
He
my
loved the
next
right.
favorite?
He loved the right way.
Favorite coach of all time, whether it's middle school, high school, college, pros. Favorite coach of all time.
Kali.
Man.
It's a tough one.
That is a tough one, man.
I'm sorry for
I
putting you on
can't.
the spot.
I can't. I don't know if I could separate that because it's
Well,
so.
all right, let me ask you this. The most influential coach.
He made it easy tough.
That's tough.
He made it tough.
When I think about influential coaches who have like really impacted me the most, I'd have to go with Coach Luke, Coach Dave. I think I would say those two if I have to like separate them from everybody else because it's more than just football.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real personal
life.
level.
It's
It's life, like the way they pour into me. You know, because they do it for so many, and just having those guys around to do that for me has been like very, very beneficial for me as a person.
Gotcha. Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, The Wood. See how easy I answered that?
Ah!
I love The Wood.
That's
Man,
good.
listen,
That's a good one.
that's my favorite movie. Every time it come, I'm watching. I can't turn it.
Can't turn.
Man, I feel like that's us growing up.
Yes.
Like it's too
real.
like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can identify with it.
Correct.
It's so realistic.
Who find the vanity of Apollonia?
Right. Favorite rapper of all time?
Nas.
Okay.
Nah, you know a lot of people in New Orleans gonna feel some type of way. You didn't say Wayne.
It is what it is. It's Nas.
Okay.
That's the greatest. That's the greatest lyrical MC of all time. If you can't listen,
Hold up.
I'm a thought-provoking person.
Okay.
So the way he raps, I relate to. Like, it's just it brings you full circle because it's a lot of stuff Nas talked about I would listen to, and I'm getting it now
I get you.
from when he done it before. You know, like you gotta have content. Like I listen to people. Like I love Wayne because of the way he put the things together. Like you
Right.
like, did he just say that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
but you said favorite, so it's Nas.
I got you.
It's Nas. It's Nas.
All right,
Go ahead.
you grew up in our era.
Mhm.
90s R&B hip hop or 2000 R&B's hip hop.
Oh, 90s.
Oh,
Come
damn,
on
that's
now.
easy.
That's too easy.
Hey,
That's easy.
It's not even close.
Problem is, some 90s trickle into the 2000s. Like
Nah,
Usher.
nah.
Easy.
that's an
90s.
artist. You talking about decade?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's the 90s.
that's all the
It's
90s.
It's the
The 90s.
90s. It's the
90s.
90s.
Easy. Ain't even
Like
close.
I'm listening to 98.5
Come on.
It's the
before
90s.
Q93.
It's the 90s.
No disrespect to either
Yeah.
one, but like I love hearing the
Yeah.
80s songs, the
Yeah.
90s. Like I love hearing
it's
that.
the 90s.
I got an old soul in me.
Earth,
There
Wind,
we
and
go.
Fire.
Yeah. It's-
Favorite R&B group?
Ooh, male or female,
Both.
like that. Boys to Men,
There you go.
SWV.
Oh,
what?
That even close.
Like you should have
Hold on,
said
hold on.
Jodeci.
They not
said
Sit
Jodeci.
at the table.
They not better
Sit
than
at the table.
No.
They not better than Drew Hill.
No.
They not better than Drew Hill.
G, you
Nah,
could
Drew
have.
Hill nice
G,
too.
They better than what they back in the Jagged Edge.
you could have said Jodeci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You coulda-
Jodeci.
you
Jodeci
coulda-
above Jagged Edge.
Yeah.
But I feel like
Yeah,
all
like-
of them
No,
kind of sit at the same
no,
table.
no.
Everybody had their own little time.
Jagged Edge.
So Jagged Edge didn't have like a nice 3-year run.
I never was a fan of them.
J.E. Heartbreak,
I
that album.
No,
I think
Oh
one.
my God,
I gotta be.
I think
I ain't gonna let-
I
I
think people
gotta
like
be.
112. I think people like 112.
You gotta put I gotta be up there, but you know, yeah, they don't. They like
No.
they
To
can
G's
be the-
point, that "Let's Get Married" song was the song.
No, that album.
man, listen.
It
They
ain't no
playing.
They had
Boys
a
to
nice
Men.
3-year run. I forgot the other 2 albums.
It ain't no Boys to Men. It ain't
This
no
how I
New
look at it, G.
Edition.
You
It
talk
ain't
you
no
talking about Jagged Edge.
Jodeci.
That's the songs you hear in the ballrooms.
Oh,
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You talking about Boys and Men that have iconic songs
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you like. How I know I was that when that song came out.
Jodeci,
I'm not
Drew
saying.
Hill.
Drew Hill, yes.
112.
112.
I'm not saying Jagged Edge is better than Boys and Men. I'm saying they should be able to It should be able
Nah.
to sit at the table.
Nah,
Listen,
they can
when
park
when
the
they did the
cars.
verses,
They can park the car.
112 smoked them.
Preach.
That's just how I feel.
Reach.
I don't know.
Okay.
A lot of comments were siding with me.
The girls.
Oh, SWV. Love SWV.
over TLC.
Yeah, I'm going
No.
with TLC. I'm going with TLC.
TLC.
Escape.
Left eye boy.
Nah.
T-Ball.
No, it's Escape.
We all
Escape.
different. We
Escape.
all different.
Escape nice. man.
TLC.
Come on,
TLC.
Escape.
No,
Man, look, I used,
SWV.
me and my
Escape.
brother used to wear the glass with the condom on the eyeglasses.
Man, don't tell nobody that.
Yeah, we used to do that.
Yeah.
Man, I was like in 3rd grade.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't
I
do
ain't know no better.
Hey, Escape.
true.
Man, no, Escape.
They made that
I'm-
cool wearing a
I'm-
condom on a
I'm
glass.
like,
I'm SWV, dog. They got my favorite
That crazy
song all the
sexy
time.
cool. That crazy
Weak is
sexy
my
cool
favorite
album
song
with
of
the
all
album.
time.
That's the song you on the phone with till 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
softest place on earth.
Red Light
Who
Special.
can I run to? Understand
Yeah.
it.
They got
Red Light
hits.
Special, bro.
Listen,
They got
it's
hits.
arguable.
They had 2 singers.
Stop.
And a rapper. Come on now, T-Bow. Come on, they ain't a singer. That's just.
Man, T-Ball had that. She had a nice little melody.
They was 3 different type of
Yeah, they was.
members.
That's just, hey,
Oh, they
I'm
were
not
unique.
taking-
They were
Yeah,
very
yes,
unique, man.
yes,
Very unique.
yes.
Yeah.
But that's just you.
I think all of them was in the same record label, LaFace Records.
Probably
Yeah.
was, yeah.
I think all of them was.
They were like, yeah.
That's when LaFace was like,
Up there.
with Tony
yeah.
Braxton.
yeah.
All
All right.
I'm break my heart.
Two more for you. Two more
What
left
you
for you.
got?
Toughest player you ever played against or coached against? That could be college or high school.
Man, I would have to say the toughest player I've coached against. That is a good question, man, because you see some really, really good players. I'll say this. I think one of the best players I've seen play, and I didn't get to coach against him, but I saw it every day at practice and I watched him in games, had to be Sully Lesh at Nickel State.
The D tackle from Luxor.
I thought he was
Bro.
unreal.
I remember I used to come to y'all practice.
Yes,
I used to be
it
like,
didn't-
man, who is him?
It did not matter.
The guy that was-
SEC
the kid
schools,
that was saying he was
on the
anything.
side. Okay,
He
Bro,
was
you couldn't
that
block
amazing to be playing interior D line to be that effective like he was.
Where he at now?
Just
Canada, huh?
nah, he home working.
You know what?
Living the life?
Matter of fact, I think he coaching. I think he coaching somewhere. Somebody told me that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he
Great.
was a dog, though.
He was
He was a dog.
I tell people all the
He
time.
was like 5'11".
something like that. I said Tepper. I think he's the greatest Colonel ever. It could be up for debate, but I'm just like he was. He was that phenomenal.
Dejon Dixon.
And look, Dejon was really good, really good. But when you listen,
Yeah,
dog,
he was cool, dog.
You listen. It didn't matter who they played. It was unreal watching him play.
I thought you would have said Daryl Johnson because you had to play against him.
What I think Daryl's the best high school player I've ever seen in my life.
Preach. I've said it a lot of times.
And I got to see that in person.
He shouldn't be two.
I thought he was the best.
He should be two.
I can't put nobody over.
Like Daryl Johnson was
I'm saying,
Sean Taylor.
If Daryl Johnson,
in my honest opinion,
it's a shame he didn't play college ball.
If he had the grades, Daryl Johnson would be like it's because
he is the reason why
LaRon
Landry they go to Miami.
They didn't go to Miami
because Daryl was going to Miami.
He was really good, man. Really good.
If you wasn't coaching college football, if you wasn't doing anything football related, what would you be doing with your life?
I mean, I always had a passion for like helping people, so it would probably be in that capacity.
Motivational speaker.
I don't know. I never really thought about that, doing that.
I can see you doing it.
Like I said, I love teaching, so I probably would be teaching if I wasn't coaching, so because that's an opportunity for me to get in front of people and pour into them. So I would still be in this realm of some type of way.
I see like more like a district, like a curriculum lead where you could like coach the teachers to kind of like fit.
I probably could have done that. Mm-hmm. I do good like group work.
Right.
I'm understanding. I'm not biased.
Gotcha.
See, another Escape song. See?
Man, always good chopping it up with you, Brock, bro. Kudos to you and your career, man. I know you got big things coming. Got to get you on the FanView podcast again in the near future, man. Because I know all you're going to do is keep on elevate. Make sure y'all share, subscribe, like,
comment.
On the FanView page and the G Sports page, man. This is G Sports. I'm signing out.
That boy Fred, man, I'm signing out, man.
Coach Hurricane Hen, I'll be back at it again.
He can't stop and he won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
I gotta give me a sign out.
Tell the listeners and the people out there watching your Twitter handle and all that stuff because you're big on it.
Yeah, well, if you're on Twitter, you can follow me at Twitter. It's Coach B Hayes, Hays. My Instagram is also the same, Coach B Hayes. Follow me on both, and I'm open book. Anybody want to learn about me, talk to me, football, I have no problem sitting down doing it.
That is, y'all. FanView podcast, man. Listen, y'all stay tuned, subscribe, like, comment. See y'all next time.